Thanks, everyone. As I say, my name's Whittaker. I'm the Managing Director of Whitecliff Minerals. We've only got 10 or so minutes today, so we'll whistle-stop through this. Quick refresh on who Whitecliff is. It's been around for a while now, but focused on the last 20 months. New management, new jurisdiction, new commodities, a complete refresh, now targeting high-grade copper in the north of Canada. If you look at the ASX, it is crying out for a copper discovery. There's a couple of juniors knocking around throughout Australia. You've obviously got Firefly up there in Canada as well. But in that sort of small to mid-cap space, there's a real opportunity to get behind something. And what you'll see today is, we're on the precipice there. We've staked some ground in the north of Canada. It is really one of the last underexplored regions, potentially highly prospective for copper throughout the world, in my view. We have done a drill campaign through the course of this year. Some of our first assays are pretty astronomical, 175 metres at 2.5% from surface, 90 metres at 4. We'll get into some more of that as we go through. Then the upside from that is not only a long strike to those intercepts we're speaking about, but we have a significant portion of sedimentary hosted copper that we have targeted over more than 72 odd kilometres. And the last point there, which I'd like to quickly talk about, is it is a committed board. Over the course of that 20 months, we've probably invested upwards of $4.5 million. So project-wise, we're in the north of Canada. Just a quick orientation for those who know, Yellowknife, hour and a half northeast of Vancouver. All major regional cities through the North Americas get into Yellowknife more than daily. It's an industrial hub. So for those who know the Australian, Western Australia, you think of Kalgoorlie or Karratha. It's a mining town set up to actually service exploration construction into the north. Most importantly, we talk about route to market and how you're going to get this out. People think North Canada, they think challenges. What you can see there, that the town of Kugluktuk, which is only 70 odd kilometres away, that sits in the Northwest Passage. As of yesterday, I note that there was a ship which left mainland China, went up over the top to one of the London cargo ports. Took them 20 days rather than 40 days going through the Suez. So in terms of this particular area, our proximity to that passage is really starting to open up what those markets look like. So the Ray project itself, this is the copper, 2,000 odd square kilometres. As I say, we're quite close to the coast. We have been out there. We have done a field campaign, looked at some remarkable rock chip samples last year. It's what sort of put us on the map and started our following. We had half our assays, which totaled 100, over 40%, over a fairly significant strike length. Some of them tapped out at 64%, which effectively is, you're holding a big bundi of chalcocite. Results to date, very encouraging. The assay results exceptional, and some of the geophysical that's starting to come back really starts to talk about, what the upside potential is. So the project area itself, you can see there the town of Kugluktuk on the right-hand side. The real simple way to describe the geology hit there is if you sort of put a line through somewhere down in that main white block, everything north of that is a sedimentary prospect. Everything south of that appears to be at surface, high-grade, volcanic or an epithermal type mineralisation. That's where we get to this dual-prong strategy. First of all, down there in the south, Danvers has a historic resource back in the 1950s, 60s, very limited drilling. They put numbers around it of about 4 million tonnes at 3%. The envelope for that covered no more than 175 metres in lateral strike, down to 150 odd metres. We're now at least 3 times that in terms of our strike length. Results to date, everything I'm going to talk about here is from surface. From surface, exceptionally shallow, and we haven't yet found the bottom of it. The second part of the equation is the sedimentary hosted stuff. When we talk about that, everyone knows this is when you start measuring tonnes in the hundreds of millions. We have at least 72 kilometres across 2 prospective horizons. So getting into the Danvers strike, what you can see there on the right-hand side is our results to date. And I'll touch on a couple of those. 175 at 2.5, 105 metres at 2 and a bit from surface, 90 metres at 4. It has been exceptional results today. They are world-class intercepts. You put them up in any results over the last 10, 15, 20 years, 3 or 4 of them will be in the top 10 without fail. What we focused on in our most recent campaign, which we're doing now, is starting to step out from that main ore zone. Results that we announced last week were from hole 12, which were 150 metres further to the southwest. That had just shy 90 metres at 2% and a bit as well. So we're still in that ore body. We're still looking for it. We still haven't found what the potential extent could be. This drilling results, so this sort of gets into some of the detail, and it's probably, the ones we're most proud of. And I talk about what's the upside here. That hole number 8, which we were going for depth, 175 metres at 2.5. The last 30 odd metres still averaged 4% copper, with the last 1.5 metre interval being 4.5%. That's astronomical as you've just gone through the first 175 odd metres. Results-wise at Danvers, we have started to feed the market with the summer campaign, and over the course of the next 3 to 4 months, the results from that further step-out drilling, which will include up to 4.5 kilometres away, really looking at the strike, and more than 200 metres below the surface as well. That will roll out all the way from here until the back end of the year, probably into January as well, given we've got such a large window. Getting onto the sediment side of things, and this is actually why we went to the copper project. We looked at this ground, we staked this ground, so there's no project royalty, there's no vent here. We looked at it because it was ground that Robbie Friedland had gone out and looked back at in 2014. The opportunity for us, and the luck for us, was in 2014, just as he was about to drill his next hole, post some fairly decent results. The territory or the province of Nunavut actually stopped issuing drill permits. He held onto this ground for another 8 or so years. We identified that he'd been there. We knew he was looking for more. Back in 2023, we were in good relations with the government, and they turned around to us and said, look, in the next 6 months, there'll be an agreement whereby Nunavut's back open for business. All rights, royalties, responsibilities now sit with the government of Nunavut rather than having to go through the feds. So in terms of having a proactive jurisdiction, there's not too many others that I think that actually top Nunavut. They had us on the phone within days of that agreement being signed, and we had exploration permits issued very shortly thereafter. To give scale for what this potential might be, the structure on our licence is more than 72 odd kilometres. The first geophysical anomaly, which sits on the easternmost side of our tenement, spans about 20 by 10 kilometres, broadly speaking. The real hot zone is about 150 square kilometres. For comparison, if you think about Kamoa and Kokula, similar geological structure, Proteozoic, their 1.5 billion tonnes comes from just 75 square kilometres. That first target you're looking at there on the board is twice the size of that. So just skipping forward to what's next from Whitecliff now to round out, more drilling results. As I say, we're out there in the field now. We've been out there since March. We'll go all the way up until what we hope is back end of October. That will see results through October, November, December, January. So by the time the assay results are finished, we're actually in a great position whereby we're going back to site. We've done some geophysics at Race to really help us refine some of the epithermal volcanic type mineralisation. Preliminary results are out. We can see that potential deposit at Danvers there in the south can be replicated up to 3 or 4 times more along strike. As the final results for that come in, that could be a real catalyst to actually get off the ground for high-grade DSO or tonnes to market in a pretty quick fashion. Fast forward to next year. Off the back of these results, we'll start putting our mind to what does an exploration target look like. That's Q1 of next year. From there, what does an infill program look like? We're targeting a dual maiden resource alongside met testing and scoping study that proves that the economics for this particular mine will work. That's something we're looking at for second quarter of next year. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.